this is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
Fishies in a row. They're here to make a point and to do Eddie proud. They fan out in the background as they come down to turn 1 for the first time. It all looks pretty good, 2 by 2. We'll stop the camera here. Oh, Eddie would be proud, mate. That was awesome run around turn 1. But, oi! Contact with the Fishies.
He's made it through. It doesn't look like Angus has made it, but Thomas Freeman's made it through, and Angus is going to suffer the crowd coming through there to be able to turn his car around.
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannons insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride, whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
ride with Shannons.
Call 134646 for a quote.
And they are off. It was a good start from Dylan De Bono. I think Phil Vella got a great start there in the background as well. You can see already cars going 5, 6 wide as they're trying to find any semblance of space. They come into T1. So far we've got 2, 3 wide as they snake down. It's Michael Conchar that's got around Dylan De Bono. A couple of cars going wide there. Was that a bit of contact in the back? Scott Pocock caught up in that, I think, there, buddy. But it's Michael Cuttajar's got past, so Dylan... light is coming out and we're about to get going, and we have a green light and a very slow start for the 86s, but they are moving out there on the grid. It would be very interesting to see exactly which driver can capitalise on this first lap. Just go through the grid. Look like Jamie Christensen had a really awesome start to get ahead of Dylan De Bono, and Doug Gowage also jumped his teammate as well, so unfortunately Dylan stalled the car a little bit more than what he preferred. But
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.
Still great classes of car, and if you are able to, if you're coming up the ranks on iRacing through the licenses, it's a fantastic sort of laneway into prototype driving, going from that GT3 up through the prototype classes. As the safety car pulls in, we get ready to go green as we come up towards the line. Edwards, Hasler, who's going to get the jump down to turn 1, or will any of the Fishies, any of the Piranhas in behind them, assault them down towards
green and they're off.
First lap? Let's go here.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons.
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover,
Which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
This is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down to the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble's bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanak and Jamie Dyson just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he hasn't committed, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if we get a good run. Dodd's just absolute thinker, but it is a really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world. Good morning and good afternoon as well. Welcome to round number 2 of the SRWtv Warren and Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series. I'm your commentator here tonight, Hamish Mono. Joining me is James JP Parfitt. James, freshly woken up, coming to the absolute save of the day here and backing me up here tonight, bringing some European international flavour to our first European round of the year. How you going, buddy?
I'm not bad, mate. Not bad, to be honest with you. You are right. Yes, literally, I've just woken up. I've been awake about 15 minutes at the most. But no, this should be an interesting one. I think the GTP, GT3 kind of makeup, the multi-class makeup is always interesting anyway. Hockenheim's one of them tracks where we're going to see great racing, great overtaking, but it will be traffic management from the GTPs, how they get through the GT3s. That's going to be the interesting thing.
Yeah, I think, as is always said for multi-class racing, a little bit of patience is going to be needed, but plenty of opportunities for those GTPs to get around the GTD cars nice and safely around this track, obviously down the multitude of straights around here, and then also into the hard braking zones, where we can also see a lot of good passing opportunities for inter-class passes as well. Last week out at Motorsport, it was an incredible first round. I don't know if you caught it or not, JP, but we saw some absolutely magnificent racing and a bit of a controversial end as well, where P1 and P2 came together as they crossed the line, leading into, as I mentioned, a controversial end to the race. It was then rectified by giving one of the drivers a penalty for causing the incident. But Hockenheim, as you mentioned, offers it a multitude of challenges. It's a fantastic track, well-known, world-renowned track. And I think tonight we're going to see some really good racing, not only from the GTPs, but the GTDs as well, and then also be able to see some great multi-class madness once again.
Yeah, multi-class is always situated within the be brave category, isn't it? You know, you've got to be brave within it. And I think that sometimes it can lead to, how can I put it? You can get that mentality where you've just got to get past them. You've got to get past them. You've got to get past them. And for the GTPs, that mentality happens often. And that isn't just because they can't drive. It's literally because they need to follow the car in front who they're trying to chase down in position. So it's going to be an interesting one. Be interested to see how they work this one out. What's going to be the main strategy? What's going to be the situation? But let's see how they get on. They've still got 45 minutes in the race. It should be okay, right? Right.
Yeah, I think they should be fine, but the key word there is should be fine. Like, could they be fine? We don't know exactly. I think, the hairpin at the back end of the second major straight on this track down at turn 4. That's always an area that we can see incidents happen, and it's always one that can lead to a little bit of carnage, as we like to say. Also, in both of the stadium sections, I mean, there's been, not only in multi-class racing, but in a whole catacomb of other race categories, we've seen some absolutely spectacular incidents happen there, but also some spectacular racing as well. This track, it really does actually lend itself well to wheel-to-wheel action. And I think it's really going to come down to that wheel-to-wheel action tonight. Of course, the strategies are going to need to be in play, and they're also going to need to be absolutely fine-tuned to perfection for drivers to take advantage. We saw a couple of drivers miss out last week on a good finish because they screwed up their strategy, and then others worked it to their advantage as well. So it's really going to be a whole concoction of different pieces and parts of racing that are going to come into play tonight, and I think it's going to give us an absolutely spectacular show around such a spectacular circuit.
Yeah. I think the show, I think that's going to be the thing. It will be the show itself and how it all materializes. What stories are we going to have, today? What stories are we going to get out of it? Who's going to come out? Is Andrew Dyson going to take the GT3? Is Ash Davis going to take the GTPs? Whatever way it works out, I'm sure it's going to be an exciting one. So really, guys, get your drinks, get your popcorn, sit there, chill out and relax and enjoy this, because I think it could be quite an epic evening of racing.
Yeah, I think I mean, the multi-class can always bring the action, as we can already see. Adam Simpson just runs it wide at the exit of turn 1 as we end out our practice session. So we're about to get into qualifying. Remember, the regular structure of first 15 minutes go to the GTDs, second 15 minutes go to the GTPs here tonight. And remember, the times are just going to come down slowly and slowly. Actually, I'm wrong. The GTPs are up first, apparently. But the lap times are just going to trickle down lower and lower until we have this, this absolute main event level fight between drivers to try and get the exact times that they need. Although I've just noticed some drivers have come out at the same time as the GTD, so I actually think they were a bit confused. I think it is actually the GTs that are out first. I think I was right on the first run. But yeah, I think, these cars, even when they're separate and even when they're together, they produce a fantastic piece of racing. One of my favorites in the world to watch, and that is just wheel-to-wheel action, multi-class, drivers having to avoid other drivers, drivers having to race around other drivers, but also staying consistent as well. As that is the key in these types of cars, is staying consistent, staying out of trouble, and at the end of the day, it should help you get up into the positive positions compared to where you start.
It's that same scenario, isn't it? To finish first, you have to finish. And if they're not going to be able to complete the race because they've taken a dive up the inside of a GT3, or a GT3's gone out their way to block them, or however the story unfolds for that particular driver, then obviously they're never going to be able to get points on the board. And one of the important things, as we know, is just to get points on the board. You've got to get points, because if you don't get points, you're going to struggle. And I think going forward for these guys as well, they've got some tough circuits. They've got Le Mans, they've got Long Beach, Watkins Glen, Daytona, the Nordschleife as well, which, as we know, is incredible as a circuit. Sebring and Spa. So they've got some iconic tracks to go to. And every track they should be able to get a big old chunk of points on. But depending on how they drive, and that's the situation. It's all dependent on how they drive themselves and whether or not they're going to get them points.
Yeah, I think the consistency is really going to have to come into play, the longer we go into the season, and coming to a lot more difficult circuits as we get towards the end of the season compared to where we're starting. Although Long Beach, just before the halfway point of the season, incredibly difficult circuit in these types of cars. You want to be as consistent as possible, but you mentioned it. The Nordschleife, even at Sebring and even at Spa, being consistent is what will do you justice. And, the Nordschleife are probably the hardest track on the entire calendar to stay consistent at for 45 minutes at a time. So it's all going to come to play throughout the rest of the season and even throughout the rest of proceedings tonight for this race, where we're going to be getting some, these little plays between drivers, these little plays between teammates. We can already see it here between Kylie and Dodds. Teammates working together to help get their laps as high as possible, to help get themselves up as high as possible in the standings, because it means if they start around each other, they're going to be able to help each other in the race, and vice versa. It'll be the same in the GTPs for any teammates out there as well. And it's using these little advantages to your advantage to get the benefit over the rest of the field. Yeah,
you're exactly right. And if you've got a teammate within the GT3 that wants to be working with you to help you, it's going to be massive, because at the end of the day, you can both work together. But then again, there's also the I suppose, from their points of view, the problem with if they're not going to get it right. There's working together at times, and there's working together in a way that you can manage the traffic together. You can manage the process of moving forward. But one of the downsides, you can also trip over each other. So, for these guys, they've got to be aware of how they're dealing with that traffic, and dealing with themselves and their racecraft within themselves. Because if they do trip over each other, the worst thing we want to be saying here is the first rule of racing is you don't take out your teammate.
Well, we don't want to be saying that, but it'll be absolute fireworks if it does happen, because it would be almost an absolute game changer. It would almost completely change the landscape of a race. If two teammates take each other out, especially if they're battling up the front of the field, it can really start to just kind of, again, change the game for us, change the landscape, give us new opportunities to other drivers to rise up the ranks and get up towards the top of the field and get a good chunk of points as well, as we mentioned. So, getting that sort of stuff in check and in line is absolutely crucial. These drivers, if they're driving throughout the year in special events and in officials as well, they should be well adverse to driving these cars and driving in amongst multi-classes, right? The majority of special events on iRacing are multi-class races for GTPs, GTDs, and LMP2s, although we don't have LMP2s out here. But there are plenty of opportunities for people to learn how to drive these cars and rise up the ranks. I said last season, the prototype and GT landscape is a great pathway to getting into a faster type of car. You start down in GT4 or GSX, as is now known, up to GTD, up into LMP3, up into LMP2, and then eventually you find yourself in the GTP class. So, you know, the roadmap is absolutely exceptional for these cars, and it gives a lot of opportunity to drivers out there to learn and to drive faster cars as they get their licenses up on iRacing.
Yeah, and I got asked a question last night, actually. I was doing a Radical SR10, and somebody said to me, what pathway is this? Is it going into open wheelers? Is it going into LMP? The guy, the co-commentator I was working with, Ewan, at the end of the day, just went, it's LMP4. And I was sat there, and I was like, well, that's a good way of looking at it, because if you start in an SR10, you would instantly go to an LMP, whether that's an LMP3 or an LMP2. That then puts you into a GTP. So there are pathways to take, but I think the problem is people recognizing what pathway they want to go. Do they want to go to dirt racing? Do they want to go down the oval route? Do they want to go on the road route? Do they want to go with a GT3? Do they want to go? And people don't realize that each car that they get into when they first start in rookies is a next step into a car that they can go and get into after. So, you know, you can look at the Formula V, would take you into the FFP 1600, then you would go to the F3s, then you would go to the F4s, then you go to the Super Formulas, and then you're heading up to W13 category. So that's your open wheel pathway. But people don't realize that, and they hop from car to car to car to car to car to car, and then they're wondering why their I rating's going down and their SR's going down, and it's all caving around them because they're not concentrating on one specific pathway. They're going over multiples. They see a car and go, oh, I want to drive that. They jump into W13 as soon as they're able to, and bang, it all goes wrong. And that's the thing, you've got to learn the car around you to be able to go and drive that efficiently before you start moving up through the ranks. And it's just one of them learning curves that people have got to listen to.
Well, I mean, it's like you look at real world racing. We'll use Formula 1 as an example. Look at the pathway that people have to take just to get to Formula 1. You can't just sit straight into a Formula 1 car when you start driving. You have to go through karting, and then up through, you know, Formula Renault, and then into Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2, Formula 1, you know, etc. But real world pathways you know, they are matched on iRacing. You know, you have got pathways to go through, and this one here is one of the simplest pathways you can take, as we mentioned. You know, you start in a tin top, you move, and then you just move your way up the ranks, and you actually gain speed by going up through the ranks because you'll learn how to drive more cars, and you'll take something from every single type of car that you drive along the journey to the top class in GTP. It may take you a year to do it, but if you go from one Daytona 24-hour racing in a GT3, use that next year to build your way up to the GTP, and then have a crack at the next Daytona 24-hour in the GTP car instead, well, look at that. It's only taken you a year, but you've learnt things along the journey, and you've learnt things about all the different types of cars that are on offer in that pathway, in that type of series as well.
Exactly. And that is the thing that people don't understand. They start off in rookies and they go, right, I'm going to Max Verstappen everyone. I'm the winner. I'm the leader. I want to come through. And it ends up being utter chaos. Then they can't quite understand why they can't get out of rookies. Well, that's fairly straightforward, really, because you just want to put it on the last to first challenge. That's never going to happen in the whole entire world that I'm aware of anyway, coming through the first lap. And then they sit there and then they get even more stressed because they can't get out of rookies. And then when they do get up to a D license, they end up jumping in something just because it looks cool. And I think for anybody that's new and watching this for the first time, the advice that we've given, to be honest, you know, for me and Hamish, we should write a book about that, because that would be a great intro for people into iRacing to read first. And I think at the end of the day, you know, iRacing should have something like that. They should have a pathway book where they can go and give people this is where you're going to lead if you do this. This is what's going to happen if you do this. Because more and more people just jump on. You know, I met a guy the other day and he completely careered into the side of me. And I turned around and said, dude, where's your spotter? And he went, spotter? What's that? And I was like, you're kidding. You've come into a NASCAR oval race and you don't know what that is. But people are like that. That's because there's nothing out there for them to really theoretically look at, and they just don't have it, you know. And how can you don't have a spotter in an oval race? It was absolute carnage in the end.
I mean, it's almost like the old adage of, it's John O'Reilly just loses it there on the second to last corner. It's almost the old adage of, you know, people, if you're racing with a single screen compared to maybe VR or triples, of having blind spot indicators as well. You know, you may not have your spotter turned on, but having blind spot indicators will save you so much grief, because you'll know if someone is on your rear quarter panel as you turn into a corner, and it will just save an incident from happening. Now, it's a bit hard when that person is all of a sudden midway around the corner in your blind spot and they're hitting you from the side. But if you guys are going side by side into a corner, it's just going to give you that little bit of help along the way of, again, learning and improving and just getting your track prowess and your racecraft up another notch. And eventually, you know, with consistency and racecraft comes pace, and eventually you'll find your iRating is upwards of 2K, maybe even 3K if you're fast enough, just by getting these little things right and just learning these little tidbits about racing on iRacing. Not even just iRacing, in real racing as well, or any other sim that's out there.
Yeah, exactly, and I do agree with you. You know, I've got two sons that drive in iRacing. One of them, obviously, is he's 18 going on 19. He come in, I had to sit down with him, I had to run him through everything. I had to go and say to him, you know, this is what you've got to do. This is how you've got to do it. You can't do it this way. You can't do it that way. And then I've got my younger son who uses my personal account to go and drive. And, of course, he got on, and he saw all these licenses, he saw all these cars, and now my iRating's plummeted down to the absolute floor. I've gone from a B license down to a D license because he's just got excited about the fact that Dad has got all these cars and he's got all these tracks, and he goes off and drives in everything. But he's slowly learning that that's not the way to do it. You know, he's built my iRating back up, he's getting my licenses back up for me as well, because he's understanding now that he can't just Max Verstappen everyone. It's not going to work. So, you know, it is a learning curve, and it's a steep learning curve for a lot of people. And I think at the end of the day, you know, they've just got to sit back and understand what the pathways are and what they're there for. Pricey in YouTube chat there as well. That's me at the moment. We were talking about a spotter in a NASCAR there as well. Well done, Pricey. Good job, buddy. But you definitely need to get a spotter. Maybe Hamish, me and you should do an intro video into iRacing that tells everyone what they need, because clearly some people are definitely lacking out there at the moment.
Yeah, I think, you know, maybe it just needs to go up on the intro of all of our streams, and eventually people who are watching will learn every time we put it up. Quick little rundown through qualifying here. 13 minutes into the session. These guys have only now got 2 minutes left in the session. Current standings as we sit for the provisional qualifying here for the GTDs. Andrew Dyson of DPR sits currently pole position with a time of 1 minute 38.25. Ben Faulkner not too far behind him with a 1:38.30, and then Greg Barber currently sits P3 with a 1:38.67. They are the only three drivers at the moment to get into the 38s. Nixon and Kylie in the 39s in behind. Hodgkinson also in the 39s, as well as Dodds, and then below them, everyone into the 40s and below. Just a quick also catch up in the chat as well. Hello to everyone who is already in the chat. Great to have you all here, including Steve Sinkovich, Maddie, Stephanie Piccoli, Pricey, Sheefy's in here as well, Adam Hughes from the Facebook chat. Great to have you all here. Great to have you all supporting the series and supporting the channel as well. Matthew Feely and Mr. Iceman back there. A couple little regulars we've got here as Dyson improves his time, 1 minute 38.10. So he has put an absolute mark on pole position, just saying, hey, that's mine, Ben. Try and beat that on your next lap. But yeah, great to have you all here. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon as well if you haven't already, and hit the like button. Any engagement we get will help us grow the channel, help us grow this series. And, you know, if you click the bell icon, you're notified of any time we go racing across all 6 nights that we go racing in the week. The only night we don't go racing is a Saturday night. So, you know, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you get racing on this channel. So be sure to get the support out there. into the channel and get into the chat, get into the comments when the stream's finished and done, because as I mentioned, any engagement will help us grow the channel, grow the series, grow the league, and help produce you absolutely fantastic racing action that we have on offer for you, as like tonight with the IMSA series, James.
Yeah, exactly. I do love Mr. Iceman's comment. The scariest drivers are those that run with mirrors turned off. It happens. It does happen. But when you're on a single screen, you can't see your mirrors anyway. You know, the side mirrors, I should say, not the virtual mirror at the top that, you know, everybody can see. But the side mirrors, when you're on a single, you can't see it anyway. So let's be real. That's when obviously your spotter, your radar comes in and everything else when you're on a single screen there as well. To have all of these, and there's great things out there. You know, there's great overlays from multiple different people that are available for you. Has got all this information, you know, and I think that it's just a learning curve as well. You boys should do a tutorial on the SRW show.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should do a...
Mate, that could, to be fair, it would probably be quite high in views if you posted it on like Reddit and stuff like that, because there are plenty of people that have no idea how to set up an iRacing properly when they're not going to go a career into everyone.
I think people need to start watching more of like Jimmy Broadbent's incident reports, the old potato race stewards. Because, you know, again, you might be poking fun at some people having incidents, stuff like that, but you actually learn from him, because you learn these kinds of incidents that happen, how to avoid them, and, you know, just, again, taking these little tidbits. You know, it doesn't take much effort to do a little bit of research on YouTube. There's plenty of guys who do a lot of content on YouTube for iRacing, including the likes like Dave Cam, Jimmy Broadbent, as I mentioned, and others who can help give you a lot more info and a lot more tips on iRacing if you are looking to improve or just get a bit more racecraft about you.
Yeah, there's loads of people out there that do them. You know, Matt Malone does them, Dave Cam does them, as you say, Jimmy Broadbent does them as well. And there's plenty of things that people are able to learn from. But there's also, you've got to be careful in conjunction with that, because on the opposite flip side of that, you might watch a streamer and you might sit back and think, oh, he's awesome, but he ain't doing it right. And I know that there's streamers out there that just, yes, they might be fast, but boy, do they get it wrong multiple times more than they actually get it right. So you've got to be aware that you are obviously watching people from their own driving style. It's like being a team member in a workplace. What you do when you're a team member is you go to one job and you take a bit from the manager that you might like, and then you go to your next one, for instance, and then you take a little bit more from another manager, and then, you know, you work your way up through your career lane and your career path, and you've got all of the good bits from the managers because you've disregarded all of their other bits. And that's the same with racing. You've got to take the good bits from drivers you watch and ignore their bad bits, because what you don't want to do is take on their bad bits and then bang, you're going to be in trouble, because then you can't understand, well, I'm driving like Billy Bob and Billy Bob is the best. Well, yeah, but Billy Bob don't get it right every time, you know what I mean? So you've got to be a little bit careful. I'm not saying there's a streamer out there called Billy Bob, by the way. Please don't go and search him up, because there isn't. I've literally just made it up. But you know, you've got to go and think, take the bits that are good and ignore the bits that are bad, and then move on to the next one. Take his good bits. And before you know it, your iRating's above 2.5K, which is the average, most average bandwidth on iRating. If you're between 2.5K and 1800, you're in that average of everyone within iRacing. If you start moving up from that, you go into the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%, whatever, as you start moving through. But you will find the chunk of average is 1800 to 2.5K, because that is the level where you get into and you start changing mentally, because you think, I'm 2.5K, I deserve to get past all of these cars. You make silly moves, and then you go back down to, say, 1900, then you go back up, and the mentality kicks in again. And it's the people that keep the same mentality that got them to 2.5K that will then move them on through 3.5 to 4.5 to 5.5 to 6 and to 7.5K. And then eventually you might get into pro, but you've got to have that mindset that you've just got to keep the same mindset all the way through the races.
Yeah, I think, you know, I've seen time and time again people who they suddenly, you know, they have a bit of pace about them, they gain some iRating, and then suddenly they get that impatience. And it's the impatience that can sometimes be the hardest thing to kind of get off your back. And, you know, I agree, you know, but there are some people out there who are upwards of 5K iRating who have still got that impatience about them, but it's controlled impatience. They are able to take a breath, and, and just kind of reevaluate how they are actually, pushing on throughout the track. As we just had people like to tow back to the pits, so it ruined my camera angle that I was going to. But and again, that impatience can sometimes cost someone, and it can cost someone not only their iRating, but it costs them a race. It can cost somebody else a race if you're impatient behind somebody. And sometimes it can just leave a bad taste in your mouth, especially when you're trying to push, and it just comes down to you're getting impatient, but you're also getting frustrated with the fact that you're unable to match what you were once doing when you weren't, focused on trying to get past somebody because they're a lower iRating than you.
Yeah, I agree. And we've got David Kirby in Facebook. The thing about iRating is they are still making it so plenty available. They are. That's a good point. But you've also got to know where you can gain iRating. Because what you don't want to do, like I've been working on my oval license because I love NASCAR, I love ovals, and yes, don't get me wrong, I know we're on a raid race, please don't fry me in YouTube chat, I fully understand that. But at the same time, I know that at certain tracks like Talladega, there's going to be incidents. So what you don't want to do is start sticking yourself amongst it. So I go out, I do a few laps, and then I just sit and chill throughout qualifying. I start from the back of the race, I join onto the pack so I don't lose the draft, and bang, there's an incident in the top 5, or there's an incident somewhere, and I'm slowly moving out. I started 24th the other day, and on the last lap, the rest of the in front of the field wiped themselves out to where I finished 6th. On the last lap, I went from 24th to 6th on the last lap because people just absolutely creamed each other, and you've got to be sensible. Don't get me wrong, it was like the Lightning McQueen race where he ends up going through the traffic, and that was me basically avoiding bits of carbon and bits of people and bits of everything, but I made it into 6th, and it's just being smart really, and it's the hardest thing for people because they want to qualify on pole, they want to take the win, they want to go out there, but you're not going to win it on the first lap. But there you go, that's an 18-lap race. You can guarantee something somewhere is going to happen. Same with open wheelers, same with some of the open wheelers as well. F4s are one of the ones that come to mind with the F3s. You know something's going to happen. So pick whether or not you really need to qualify. Sit at the back, go through, start working on your racecraft around you, because you know there's people that are going to get it wrong, and you know there's going to be incidents, and you know at the end of the day you've got to start picking up the places when you can, but you don't have to go from last to first on the first lap. And that is one of the biggest things that people don't understand. I'm at the back, I want to get to first by the end of the first corner. It's just never going to happen.
No, it's not. And a lot of people bring that mentality. We spoke about endurance racing. They bring the mentality into a 12 or 24-hour race. And it's like, you're not going to win it on the first lap. You've got 24 hours to get to that point. Just cool your jets a little bit. Just to answer your question, Sean, we've currently got 12 GTP cars signed up for the session at the moment. And we've got 13 or 14 GTD cars as well. So a good little spread, around about half the spread between them all. And it's going to give us a good little balance between cars, and that neither of them are really going to overshadow each other here tonight. I think we're probably going to go about I'd say 5-10 minutes before we actually get to the back of the GTD field with the front of the GTPs. But Hasler and Grotch, these guys controlling it up the front at the moment. Both the Frog Leap Juice Racing drivers done so well here to get their times down into the 25s. The only two drivers to get into the 25s at this stage. They are working together though, so they are giving each other a bit of a tow here. And the rest of the field's going to have to work pretty hard just to get back up to that pace as well, with about 6.5 minutes to go left in this session. And I think, going back to what's being said about, being consistent, being clean, and not trying to win it on the first lap. This season, round 4, we go to Long Beach in these cars. That is going to have to take a lot of patience and a lot of consistency, especially with both classes out on track. It's
book me in for Long Beach, because I'm going to see the parking lot at the end of turn 1 if somebody gets it wrong. And to answer that comment from Stephanie, I did that, started at the back of the grid, and it killed my IR. You are right, and you will never find with it that you can gain SR and IR at the same time. You've got to pick for you which one's important, right? what you would do generally, and this is just my advice, Stephanie, I'm no expert. I haven't driven for absolutely, well, I drove this week on Dega, so I've been working on oval, so, you know, I'm probably not the best for that one. But I will say that concentrate on your SR first. Basically, get your SR up to your I rating, up to your A license. Don't worry about your I rating, and then once you get to your A license, concentrate on your IR, because then what that allows you to do is basically hold your your A license while you're trying to develop your racecraft and move up through your IR rank, and it's a very difficult situation. I always, like, when I talk to my son as well, we always look and review some of his races, and I sit back and go, you need to decide, are you going for SR, which is your cleaner racing, or are you going for IR to take the win? Because there are people who are A license but are not above 3 on their SR. You can see that they just keep their SR above that 2 mark before they get demoted at the end of the season. So you can see that a lot of A licensed drivers, and I've come across loads of them, are not 4.0 or not ever. You know, and we've got it here today in the GTD class. We've got A license, but they're like 2.6, 2.63, 2.5, you know, 2.16, because they've got the A license and then they've gone for IR. You will see an SR drop, but you've also got to be aware that once you do start seeing your drop, when you get down to that threshold of 2 where you end up getting demoted, then go back to your SR, then balance it out. It is a balancing game, and it's really tricky because you'd never gain SR and IR at the same time unless you're super quick qualifying a pole and running away from the field. So I'm sorry I can't give you any more help than that, but that's the kind of pathway that you kind of have to take with an SR-IR balance.
I think, going to your comment there, Stephanie, about just want to race clean but don't get that in lower splits. I mean, it more or less comes down to, in your practice, if you think you've actually got the pace to put it on pole, try and put it on pole, and then just see if you can run away from the field a little bit. Otherwise, if you think you might be off pace a little bit, just start from the lane. Start from the lane, get up the field, and then just try and keep it clean. It's kind of the mentality of rookies in MX-5s or Formula Vs or Formula Fords of, the way I got out of my rookie license was I just started from the lane for 4 races, got my SR up, and then bang, I was in Class D, and I was able to go race Ferrari Challenge, and well, at the time the 8.6s weren't on the service, but if I was getting into Class D now, go and do the 8.6s, because you want to try and get out of rookies as fast as you can, obviously, but actually being able to get up the licenses is going to give you more opportunities to drive other things, and as we mentioned, learn things as well. It's a nice little callback to what we've already been saying. You're going to be able to get up those licenses quicker. You're then going to have more opportunities to drive new cars, drive at new tracks, drive in new series, and build up your repertoire of what cars you are driving, depending, though, on the pathway that you've chosen to take through your licenses. So, and you know what? You can always change pathway. If it's not right for you, go and pick another pathway. Or if you've gotten to the top level of sports car racing, hell, go try out some open wheelers or go try out some tin tops and make your way up that sort of route. There's a lot of different opportunities for drivers on iRacing to build up not only their I rating or their skill set or their SR, but to actually figure out what best suits them to go racing with every single night or every single week.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, pathways are the thing that people don't quite get. But what you want to do as well, you will find a lot of the drivers that sit at the top of the iRacing championships or series stat list are the people that have practiced all week. They've done no officials, they've practiced the tracks all week, and then what they've done is over the weekend, once they know they're going to be within the top times or whatever, Troy Maguire just had quite a big one into the wall going around turn 1 there, unfortunately for him. But you want to make sure that you get your practice in and then run your officials over the weekend if you get time, because once you've practiced, you've got your time up, you then go into the series list and go, right, where am I? Okay, so I'm not in top split, but I'm in, say, second or third split. Okay, am I the fastest in third split? Can I go and put it on pole position? And then you sit back and think, okay, well, I might be able to go and put it on pole if I end up there. So I'm going to go and do my officials now over the weekend. You've practiced the track change on Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you've got 4 days to go and practice the track consistently. Practice, 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 bang, officials on Saturday and Sunday. Then you've got you're ready. You know where all your braking markers are. You know where your speed is. You know what time on average you're doing. You know where you should end up. And I think that's the thing for a lot of people. People don't practice. They see a track on a Tuesday. For instance, you might be in a little Renault Clio, which, mind you, is a great car. I'm not going to dispute that. But it might be a Tsukuba. And you go, oh, I love Tsukuba, jump in. But you might love it, but you haven't loved it in a Clio. Go and practice the tracks for 3 or 4 days, then go into officials. And that's probably one of the biggest bits of advice me and Hamish here can give you. Practice, 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 then do your officials of the weekend, because that way you've got the practice in here as well. But Brown and Gooch, Grok, at the beginning, is doing a great job in the GTPs, taking that pole position here as well. So, yeah, good round, good session all round. Hey, Mark. Hey, JP. How are you? I'm very well, thank you very much, mate. I've been up about, half an hour? Maybe, no, a little bit longer than that, about an hour. Here, but as well. So thank you so much for that. But I'm good. Thank you very much, buddy.
Yeah, it was a good little qualifying session there. Not much play-by-play, but a nice little chat nonetheless. Just kind of talking about all the little tidbits that we love to talk about on iRacing. I was always told for a long, long time in my early days of broadcasting, you should start a podcast. You should have a podcast. And then I did start one, and now that kind of runs every 2 weeks, where I kind of talk about this sort of stuff. Specifically for the league that I do it for, but it's still good for the league that I do it for, and also bringing in people to interview and stuff like that, and just giving a little bit of fresher ideas and some little tidbits from drivers in the league and from other people outside the league. Again, just trying to help people out on iRacing, and not even just in the league itself, but on iRacing altogether. So it's really good. A little bit of a cheap plug for my podcast Beyond the Apex there. So if you guys want to go and check that out, you can find that one. I'm not going to tell you where it is.
Invite. If you need a guest.
You can come on if you like. You can come on if you like.
Oh, yeah, I love a good podcast to be able to sit and waffle for ages about lots of different things, mate. Hit me up. Give me a shout. I'm quite happily come and join you for it. Obviously, be aware of time zones, though, Hamish. You know what I mean? We don't want to be doing it at 5 in the morning. You know what I mean?
I know. It has now moved to a breakfast show. It used to be done at 8:30 at night, and then when I took on more days for SRW, it moved to a Sunday morning for me. So now it's in the morning for me, around about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning for me. So which I think normally works out to
in the evening.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's not too bad. So but yeah, so end of qualifying. We're then going to get into our gridding up time for the drivers. We'll then run through the grid for you prior to this race. As I mentioned, we've had 10 GTP cars set a lap time in this session. 2 of them did not set a time. They'll be starting 11th and 12th, that being Jamie Davis and Josh King. And then we've got a further 13 or 14 GTD cars led at the front of the field by Andrew Dyson and Ben Faulkner as the GTPs are now starting to grid up. So we will run through our starting grid for tonight, with Brandon Grotch starting on P1, pole position for the Frog Leap Juice Racing. Alongside him will be his teammate Scotty Hasler out of P2. Adam Simpson will then start in behind them in P3 for Fishy Motorsport, with Patrick Frame starting out of P4 for Respect the Meatball Racing. Troy Maguire will then start just in behind his teammate on grid in P5 for Fishy Motorsports, with Simon Mazzomo starting out of P6 for 9.5 Sim Sports. His teammate Ash Davis will then start one position in behind him in P7, with Ty Delaney, the young fella, starting at a P8 for Fishy Motorsports here tonight. Jai Schultz making his debut for this season. He'll start at a P9 for LCR Esports, just alongside Shane Newens, who makes up the top 10 for Mauler Racing. As I mentioned, Jamie Davis and Josh King unable to set a time in that qualifying session. We'll see if they actually make the grid or not. Andrew Dyson will then start at a pole position for the GTDs alongside Vermilion Motorsports, Ben Faulkner out of P2, P14 on the road. Greg Barber will start at a P3 in class, just alongside Connor Nixon for Vermilion out of P16 on the road, P4 in class. John O'Kiley will start at a P17 with Callan Hodgson alongside him for CXR. Harry Dodds will start at a P19 for Frog Leap Juice Racing, with Mark Cochran for Apex Esports making up the top 20. Jason Madden will start at a P21 ahead of Benjamin Brook in P22, with Greg Johnson and Kyle Stevens just in behind them. And then we've got Joel Audie and Greg Leake making up the rest of the grid here tonight. 26 cars to go racing. A big thank you to our safety car and race control out there as well here tonight. But, well, JP, it's going to be a nice little 45 minutes for us. Do you reckon these guys can keep it nice and clean and give us a good show to boot?
You know, when I sit on a grid within a race, I always find the first person that says, "Good luck, guys," is the first person to crash.
Or
right?
the first person to say nice and clean, please, will always be the first to have a crash.
It's all the same time. And it's not the fact that they can't keep it clean. If they were the only one on the circuit for 45 minutes, they would keep it clean, right? Because they're the only one there. When you stick a car in amongst other people, it's then that their mental capacity changes and silly decisions come into it. You know, and it's all the people that go, good luck. I'm the first person to go back on the radio. So it's not about luck, mate. It's about people's driving decisions. And that is the biggest thing. It is their driving decisions that can influence whether or not it's going to be a good race. As long as they've got good driving decisions here, Hamish, I don't see a reason why they can't keep it clean. But I'm hopeful. Can we do it like that? Can we just say that?
Yeah, my fingers are crossed for a clean lap one. We didn't even make it like to the start line on Wednesday night for the F3s. Like there was an absolute collision, and the drivers who got hit never even made it to the start-finish line on the first lap. So hopefully we can have a nice clean start tonight. Of course, rolling start. The GTPs will roll away. The GTDs in behind will leave a nice little gap. As I mentioned, both the Frog Leap cars will lead this field away here for our race start here tonight. It'll be up to them to keep this nice and clean. It'll be up to the drivers in behind to do so as well. Mr. Iceman just chirping us up here, blah blah, not listening, lol, joking, of course, no commentators curses, please. Well, that's what we're saying. We're not trying to mention any drivers who could cause anything, but we're just hopeful that we get a nice clean start here out at the Hockenheimring. So we've got 45 minutes to go racing, JP. The leaders, of course, Grotch and Hasler. They will lead the field off round the final corner to start lap number 1 of our first 45 minutes. The lights are up. When will they go out? And when will the leader go here for the race start? We are green and we are go here at the start of tonight's race. Hasler just gets forward there of Grotch. He picked the start a little bit better than his teammate. It's side by side through turn 1. That was uber close there. We see them all weaving all over the field. We'll just quickly check out where the GTDs are in comparison. They're coming around the final corner. They're getting started as well. Dyson will lead them off over the line. Faulkner weaving all over the road, trying to put all sorts of pressure over the DPR driver in P1 at this stage. We'll have to wait and see who is going to get the benefits and the glory here on lap number 1 of our 45 minutes of racing here tonight.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting start for some. We saw side-by-side going on currently at the front. Adam Simpson there's been a crash in the GTDs. It is Ash Davis, Simon Mazzamo, Josh King and Shane Nowens have all had a coming together there as well. Patrick Frame up 2 places at the beginning. Scott Hasler up 1 place as well, with Troy Maguire up 1. Ty Delaney up 3. Brandon Grock down 5 places at the beginning. Not a good start for Brandon whatsoever there either. He has just not been able to do it. There was side-by-side in turn 1. Not an ideal scenario from him. However, in the GTDs though, Faulkner and Dyson have swapped places. Faulkner's up 2 with Barber there as well. So it's a great action all the way through here at the moment. And I think going forward, they've got to start learning now before they start getting really into it, who they're going to be able to race, who they're not going to be able to race here either. So it's going to be an interesting one. GTP is probably going to be lapping by about lap 5 to 6, I would have thought. They are considerably quicker, as we know. So over that period of time, they are going to be lapping. But Ben Faulkner at the moment leading the GTDs, which is doing a great job with Andrew Dyson tucked in behind him. Took it at the start, did Ben, on that run down into turn 2. Great job from him, and he's doing a stellar job out in front at the moment. So yeah, some great action going on here as well.
We have had an incident kind of just halfway around that lap there for one of the GTD drivers. It was Kyle Stevens. Oh no, I've left it in quarter speed. We'll go back to full speed. So we see him here. He comes around up towards, halfway between the stadium sections, just loops around. Lucky not to collect anyone else in that effort. And but to the back of the field he goes at this stage. I believe Callan Hodgkinson has also had to start from the lane as well. So he's actually down quite a few spots here for the GTD cars. But head back up to the front of the prototypes. Hasler leads Frame, leads Simpson, leads Maguire, leads Delaney. That's the top 5. Grotch, Schultz, Mazzomo, King, Davis. That is the 10. Newens just outside the 10. Behind them, only one of those GTP cars did not make the start, that being Jamie Davis. But we'll come around. We'll start lap number 3, 3 minutes in. Nothing too major to report yet, JP. We've had some nice clean running, but it's a hell of a lead at the moment with Hasler just up the road here from Frame. It's around about 2.8 seconds right now between P1 and 2.
Yeah, it definitely is. We've got Brian and Grock trying to make moves here as well. He's trying to come back through the field. He's side by side with Delaney just in the background there as well. You can see him coming down. He is going to now make that move into turn 2. He's done an absolute stellar job. He's got through. He knows he's got the pace, but this is where that mindset come in now, Hamish. He knows he's lost it at the beginning. What he doesn't want to do is now fret, panic, because it leads to silly, stupid driving, and he knows he's got the pace, so just pick him off bit by bit by bit. Don't rush it now. You've still got 42 minutes on the clock. You can do it. That's what they say. You can do it mentally. You can do it there as well. So some great action. Ash Davis at the back here of the GTBs did clear Shane Nowens earlier on as well. So he's starting to try and get into the swing of things and start making his way back up through into Josh King. So it's going to be great for Ash to see how he develops as well. But there's battles all the way through, you know. Benjamin Brock and have just lost a place to Mark Cochran down in the GTDs. They've just gone side by side as well, and they've just swapped positions going into turn 2. So it is great action developing here as well. You can see the interval splits on the left-hand side there as well. Simpson, Maguire, Grock, Delaney not very far apart whatsoever behind Frame. Hassler's gone by 3.5 seconds. Down in the GTDs, you can see we've got a couple of pockets of battles. Faulkner, Dyson, Hodson, Madden, Brook and Johnston, and then Leak is at the back as well. But he's even trying to catch up with Joel Orty from Venom Racing as well. So yeah, great development so far. It's nice and clean. Kyle Stevens, as we saw, had a bit of a moment as well. But then again, if you're going to hit a sausage curb and you're going to hit the accelerator, you're going to spin more times than a ballerina in Swan Lake, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, we saw there Cochran just running slightly wide off the back of the second corner there in the first little stadium section. Brook tried to take advantage, wasn't quite close enough, didn't really quite carry enough speed through that corner to really take advantage. Ty Delaney has had an incident. It's him going off at the end at turn 4. He'll lose out a couple of positions. This will promote Schultz up into P6, Grock back up into P5. But luckily for him, he didn't actually nick the wall in the Fishy Motorsports machine there, so the young fella's still doing well. He's really trying to spread his wings a little bit here and learn a multitude of cars, and I think it goes back to what we were saying that, you know, and this will come with time and learning for him as he nearly hits Mez as he comes past.
Yeah, Ty Delaney there as well. He just went too deep into the braking point, didn't get the car stopped, and unfortunately nearly went into the back. He took evasive action. He might have just nicked it there as well, but Ty's just lost a place to Ash Davis, who we said is trying to come through the field. But we've got Patrick Frame there as well. There's off on the last corner as well. Grock again, I think is off the side of the circuit, or is it Frame off the side of the circuit? I think it's Frame off the side. Yeah. Oh, Patrick Frame there not doing ideal either. So he's going to be another man that's going to have to sit back and try and not panic. But we're on board with Grock now. Grock's got Maguire in front of him. And again, as we said, he's moving through the field bit by bit by bit by bit. This is one of them scenarios. You don't have to go back and get yourself back on pole position, get yourself on the front straight away. No point. Never going to happen. Do what Brandon Grock is doing. Pick them off piece by piece by piece, and he's doing a great job in that and is showing a great example of what you should do when you lose places.
Yeah, he's really given us a good example of what we've been speaking about already here tonight, of not getting that impatience about, yes, he lost the lead early, but he is, again, just picking his way through the field and having that patience about him, knowing where he can actually get it done and knowing where, you know, he's got the bit of pace just over his competitors. As we're here with Simpson, who leads this little pack of 3 cars with his teammate Maguire in behind, and then Groch trying to chase him down. And they have already started coming up on the GTD field here, JP. I mean, we can already see the leader. He's up on the back of Greg Leake. Of course, Leake was involved in that controversial end to round number 1. He was not at fault, of course. It was deemed to be at fault of one of the GTP drivers who actually hit him and took out Groch on the line. But you can see he has a hell of a lead already, 4.9 seconds, almost up to 5 seconds. And I would not be surprised if this actually starts to trickle out further and further away as those guys that are battling in behind start to meet the GTDs as well and start to get those little packs of GTDs that can sometimes be almost impossible to get past in quick manner.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things as well they've got to look out for now for the likes of Grock, Maguire and Simpson, they're not all going to get through at the same time. You know, and that's the biggest thing there as well. Hasler, oh, dude, the Audi's going to instantly wash out. It always will. You've just got to be a little bit more mindsetful as well here of where you're going to put that car. It's even scarier as Ty Delaney and Carl Stevens looks like they've had a coming together or some form of incident, whether or not that's together or on their own here. But Grotch has got to be careful, Hasler's got to be careful, sorry, to make sure that these passes are happening cleanly. He's cleared the first bunch, now he's coming into that 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 range, and he's just got to be mindful that these guys are still battling. Yes, they are spread out a little bit, and to be fair, he should be able to clear them one at a time here, Hamish, and make sure that he doesn't have an issue getting through. As we say that, he nearly ends up in the back end of the Porsche. Take the inside, take the inside.
Oh, and the old adage really needs to come to play here. And you know, it takes two to tango, but the GTDs always need to remember, hold your line. The GTP, it can drive around you, but the GTP needs to have the patience and the wherewithal to know where the GTD's racing line is, to have it done as clearly as possible. As he comes up onto the back of Harry Dodds here. You can see in the background as well, Grotch just trying to make moves here on the Fishy boys. He's now in a bit of a fish finger sandwich between Maguire and Simpson. Hopefully he doesn't end up like the fryer oil at a chip shop that's absolutely burnt out by the end of this battle. As you see, he's under immense pressure from Maguire in behind up towards 4. Maguire looks like he wants this down the inside. They're going to get past the GTD. Maguire thinks better of it, doesn't want to have to cause a worse incident that could be caused there by trying to make it 3 wide into 4 as they come around into the first stadium section now. I mean, it is clean running, but it is real cringe running a little bit, because we see these guys coming up on the lower class. And JP, I mean, I am wincing at some of these because I'm thinking, are they going to take this guy out, or is that guy going to take them out? Like, we're getting super tight here.
Yeah, exactly. And Ty Delaney looks like he's been taking himself out. He's had another incident after what we spoke about earlier on. You can see they're running now as well. They've got the Mercedes tucked in there. They're running around the outside here. But it's all on, in conjunction with the guys at the back, it's all on Troy Maguire. And I know you might sit back and go, JP, what the bleaking hell are you talking about? He's at the back of the 3. He's got to try and stay with the guys in front. So as we see in front of us there, Simpson's just made that pass. Grock's made that pass. So now it's all on Maguire. He needs to go and support his teammate. He's got to try and follow them through, but he can't do it if he can't do it cleanly. So for Maguire, he's in the biggest place at the moment to sit back and think, what am I going to do here? Am I going to sacrifice time to Grock, or am I just going to try and go when everyone else goes? And as we know, the GTDs, they're not aero efficient. You know, yeah, they've got a rear wing on the back and they all look sexy and funky, but they're not great on aero. They will wash out on corners. They will run wide in the faster corners. You've got to let them have the wider line, because otherwise they're going to come and you're going to find them out there with you. So they've just got to be very, very mindful. Grock. Oh, they did. Oh, he took it in deep. And now Maguire's there. He can go and do whatever he wants. Great job from him. But now it's all on Grock again and Simpson again. It's the other way round now. Grock needs to stay with them. So Grock's got to look at the fact of how is he going to get through. Diving into Mercedes, well, yeah, if you can get it stopped. And he didn't get it stopped. And he washed out. And Simpson was on the outside saying, hey, I can't go anywhere else here, buddy. You're going to have to come and let me out, because otherwise we're going to be sat here for ages.
We can see there. Oh, there's been contact between them at the last corner. I was about to say Grock gave the position back. It's now brought Schultz into the battle as well. Let's quickly get the replay up of that. I need to see how this has happened between them. So they've come into the last corner. Let's go on board with Grock and we'll see what his point of view is. They've come in. Oh, it's the GTD. Oh, it was Dyson P2 for DPR. Oh. That's a tough one. No.
Yeah, you've got to look at the fact, though, for Simpson. I'll have a quick look back at that one at the moment here as well, because Simpson, as I said, was on that inside line, and I've said it and said it and said it here as well. You've got to give them space to wash out. And that's the thing. If you don't give them space to wash out, which is what's going to naturally happen, you're going to find yourself a problem. They're going to take a wider line. Should he have been up there in the first place? Absolutely not for Adam Simpson. That was silly. The GTDs had washed out. It was pulling it back in for the apex. There was no reason to go and try and do that. And the worst thing is when we talk about making the right decision, he was going on to a straight, just sitting there for a brief minute. He was going on to a straight. He should have waited until we got onto the straight. And that isn't anything bad. That's just one of the things we were talking about, Hamish. Look at the perspective that what he had. He was going around the final corner. He was going onto a straight, and he had plenty of time to make it. No mirrors there for Dyson. Nah.
I don't think it's that. It's
I don't think it's that either.
The onus comes back onto the GTPs, and there was an incident that happened. It was actually when we were at Hockenheim last time for the F3s. Of the car has the corner at the point of turn-in. So Dyson is ahead at the point of turn-in. It's his corner. It doesn't matter if Simpson's trying to come past. It's Dyson's corner. Simpson can't put the nose up there. Doesn't matter if he's up to the B pillar. If it's at the point of turn-in and Dyson's ahead, it's his corner. So it doesn't matter if he has no mirrors or not. You know, and as you mentioned, he should have been more patient. We saw Josh King there. He waited until the straight, and he got it past Dyson on the straight. So a little bit of patience. And again, it's not us picking on Adam Simpson necessarily. He is the example that we have for this incident. If it was any other driver, we'd be saying the same thing. Well, he should have just waited until the straight, or he should have waited for a better opportunity. So, you know, it comes down to, you know, that impatience that we've talked about, having that little bit of patience. I know you got a guy behind you who is absolutely rapid, but he's going to be just as patient as you are, because he just wants to try and make his way through the field as safely as possible. Yeah, exactly right. Tiny lift off throttle and easy pass on the straight. Exactly right.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I just I had watched that back as well. And do you know what's worse? Simpson was already turning at the Dyson was already turning. Sorry, at the moment when Simpson tried to get through. And you can't expect him to not all of a sudden correct his turning. He was heading towards the apex. So I can't sit back and put that on Dyson. I've got to, if from our opinion, and obviously, you know, don't get me wrong, we are up in the booth. It is our job to bring opinions to the racing. I would look at Simpson on that. As you say, Iceman, tiny lift, easy pass on the straight. Absolutely. He had all the time in the world there as well, and he just rushed it through. So, yeah. But there's still some great action going on. We've got Frame here as well. He's battling out with Schultz up the front in the GTPs. We've got Davis and King going at each other as well. So there's still action for us to pay attention to, but it's the same thing we spoke about, Hamish. Rushing that passes. Rushing it. As I said, he knew he had to get through. He knew he had to go and try and keep up. He knew he had to do all of these things and all these emotions and all of this red rag to a ball. And that was his result. So was it worth it? Nope. Should he have lifted? I agree. He should have done.
Yeah, we've I've just seen on the rundown here of the incident report, Troy Maguire had a little bit of an off track. He has come back on. I would say he's just kind of run it wide at one of the corners. But the gap at the moment between the leader and him, although the leader's in the pits, Hasler at the moment in the pits, it was 16 odd seconds from him back to P4. It was about 7 seconds back to Maguire. So Hasler in, Maguire now takes over the lead, and now Grotz tries to chase down the leader and take back that lead of this race, but it is only provisional until Hasler makes his way past them through their pit stop period as well. But 16 and a half minutes in, we've already had a little bit of action, a little bit of controversy as well, but nothing really major in terms of a safety car worthy incident, which we don't ever want to light the candle and make a prayer for, but it does make it for fun viewing. And I do sometimes prefer a race that has a safety car, because it'll really draw the field back in and offer us so many more battles on track than the ones that are currently happening when the field's spread out.
Yeah, definitely. Is that it's kind of that toss-up between, do we want great racing, great battles, or do we want everybody back in pack because the safety cars made it happen, and then we end up with carnage and chaos? And I'm erring on the side of the great racing. I know Hamish, you said about safety cars, but I'm erring on the side of great racing. You know, we've got some great action still going on. Frame and Schultz is still going at it as well. Answer your question there. Where's Schultz running? He's running in third in the GTPs at the moment. So he's still going at it there. And down in the GTDs, we've got Dyson and Faulkner now not very far apart as well. So yes, I love a safety car as the next man, but I also don't love chaos. So I think I'm erring on the side that I'm quite happy to let these guys battle out, let these pit stop cycles run. As you can see now as well, your leader is down in 7th place, Haslow, after his pit stop. Grok's gone in as well, Mazzomo's gone in, and Delaney's been in 4 times, but Delaney, to be honest, has had a bit of a horrendous race so far. So, you know, that poor lad there as well, we won't focus too much on that one. But at the end of the day, it's still action, it's still great action, and it's going to continue to be great action here as well as we go in, coming to the end of the first 20 minutes. That's flown by, Hamish, to be blatantly honest, here as well.
Yeah, mate, it has absolutely flown by. I think Schulte there was flashing Mr. Frame, who actually just got past him. I think there might have actually been a little bit of net code between them there that's actually caused Schulte to kind of get a little bit unstuck, and that's what it's allowed Frame past. So maybe a little bit of frustration is the word I'm looking for. Frustration from him, but you know that wasn't a malicious move or anything like that. It's a little bit of net code. You know, they were close together, and it happens. You see Schultz trying to battle back at him round the outside. What a move it was as they come up onto the back of the Porsche, get around him into the second stadium section. And I tell you what, these guys are just producing an absolutely epic battle right now. It's for P2 on the road, provisionally probably around about P4, but they are just producing an absolute classic battle here between GTPs. Schultze, he's going to come in the pits. Oh, Frame getting a little bit impatient there. Look at the wash! And again, it goes back to the washout of the GTD car. Why would you go for the outside line? It's always going to run out, you know, further out wide. Like,
all day, every day. All day, every day. I don't even drive these cars. And I know the GT3s and the GTTs have got to wash out. They've got to run wide. They haven't got the aero grip. They are not a GTP. Don't go there again, because the thing is, he was technically, when you look at the side of that corner, he was on the circuit, but there was no reason for that GTD to give him any room to come back on. You know, you're off track. Your wheels are out. No, I don't need to give you room to come back on. I choose to because I don't want you to wipe me out. But Frame kept his foot in, and that was just, that could have been a lot more dangerous there than it was. So fair play to the GTD for trying his hardest to avoid him. But yeah, no, don't do that again. Otherwise, it won't be the same result twice.
Yeah, it's the word I like to use is questionable. And going back to young old Ty Delaney, I didn't mean to mention this. His day has been a character-building race for him. It's a character-building one for sure. Tough day out of the office for him. And to be fair, Greg's finish out at Motorsport was character-building as well. But currently, as we are kind of halfway through our little pit stop period here, Troy Maguire leads to Ash Davis, to Patrick Frame, to Scott Hasler, to Josh King. That's the top 5 as Davis and Frame come into the pits. Then it's Simpson, Grotch, Schultz, Mazzomo, Delaney, Newens. That is the GTP field. Faulkner, Dyson, Barber, Nixon, Kylie. That's the 5 for the GTDs, and it's Dodds, Madden, Brook, Audi, Leake, Stevens, Johnson, Hodgkinson, and Cochrane for the rest of the GTD field. Josh King's also just come in as well, so 3 of those cars into the pits. Troy Maguire is now in the lead, but he is yet to pit. Scott Hasler is still provisional leader of this race, barring anything negative happening to him, JP. And but Grotch, he could be on here for P2, as he's about, I want to say 36 seconds up to the leader, and it's about a 37 second lane travel time. So we could be on for a bit of a spicy end between Maguire and Grotch here for P2.
Yeah, definitely as well. We've got to focus down on Faulkner and Dyson. They're still scrapping out on the GTDs. They're not very far apart at the moment here as they're off around the final corner. You can see how close they actually are there. Is Dyson going to go and make that move into turn 1? He's not. He's got Faulkner sat there at the moment. Where's his opportunity? Well, it's down through the Parabolica and down into Spitzker. If he can get it up the inside of 1, great. If he can't, follow him through as he has done down through 2. Now this is the opportunity coming out of 3 and 4. Get right up as you can. Get close as you can. You want to ride his bumper like Zorro rides a horse. You want to be right up there and make sure that you can get him going into the Spitzker. If you can't, don't dive him. You're going to have plenty more times to try and do that there as well. As he thinks about it, that was late.
just
I know
covers
we
the
say
inside.
yeah, but that was quite late there. That was almost braking zone late from Faulkner. So he's got to be a little bit more careful on that one because Dyson managed to get it slowed up. But if it happens again, I can guarantee that's not going to be the same result here either.
These guys just need to be careful now not to get tangled up with each other. They got a solid lead over Greg Barber in P3, about 7.6 seconds off the back of Faulkner. So these guys, you know, they're in an intensifying battle. You know, the pressure gauges are just starting to tick over. They're just starting to crack. We're not quite at the point of full-on explosion level of pressure at the moment for these guys. But as we come up towards we're just past the halfway point of this race, you suddenly have to question, what is the plan going to be? These guys are going to battle this out for the next 22-odd minutes or 21-odd minutes for this race, or are they going to try and keep this clean as Faulkner comes in? So Dyson will take the lead of the GTDs, with Maguire the leader of the GTPs as he comes past him here on the straight.
Yeah, definitely. He's gone into the pits. Iceman, I will address that rule because that is one rule that drives me absolutely insane as a commentator. And that's the thing. What are the rules we're flashing? That is league dependent on what the rules are. Me personally, the only time you should be flashing is if you're a GTP trying to clear a GTD, and that's literally to say, I'm going to look at coming through over the next corner. If you're chasing the car in front and you're flashing just to put him off, don't do that. It drives me insane. You know, if you're faster, get past him on track. You don't need to be flashing because, to be honest, all you're probably doing is wasting a finger action on the steering wheel when the guy in front's probably not paying any attention to you doing it anyway in the first place. But it really is league dependent, and I have seen leagues actually give people drive through for excessive flashing, and it was literally insane. So I think that is league dependent on that one there for you, Iceman, as well. But it is definitely a rule, to be honest with you, Hamish, that there's no real clear answer. What do you call excessive? What do you call trying to get through? What do you call? It's all up in arms. But for me personally, you don't need to flash. There's no need for it.
Yeah, I don't think flashing's not really required if you're trying to put off your opponent. I mean, it's a different story if it's an official or an endurance race, and you're just trying to get any advantage you can. It's a 45-minute race. Like, put the pressure on them without needing to flash the lights. If you're a GTP car, it's fair enough because you're letting the slower class car know, hey, I want to go for this move. You know, just be aware, I'm going to go for it in the near future. So, try and leave a gap open for me if you wouldn't mind. And, GTDs, it's not about impatience unless you hold them up for a fairly long while. But again, the onus is not on the GTDs. It's on the prototypes to get around them safely. The GTDs have got the right of way. Does not matter. They have always got the right of way because they are told to stick to their line. It's up to the faster car to make their way around them, not through them. And that is the important thing to remember. And that's what always needs to be remembered. It doesn't matter if it's GTPs and GTDs, even if it's LMP3s and GSXs or LMP2s and stuff like that. You always got to remember, it's on the onus of the higher class car, the faster class of car, to get around as safely as possible and not to take out the lower class car in the proceedings.
I do agree with you. But one aspect that I look at when we're discussing this, and to be honest, this fault has been my controversial bane here as well, because although if you're a GTD and you are in front of a GTP, right, and you say, for instance, you're running down the Parabolica, you can see that GTP coming, and you know he wants that corner down into Spitzker. So what's easier? If you're not racing anybody, lift off before the corner. You don't need to run him straight into the corner and then moan about the fact he's dived you. Well, I'm sorry, but that's, it's got to be a two-way street here. You can't dance the tango on your own. You need a partner, right? And at the end of the day, they can't facilitate a pass in a GTP without a GTD facilitating it as well. If you're in a battle, let him through because the guy in front's got to do the same thing. And just lift a little bit. Don't make it hard for them, because one of the things in multi-class that drives me crazy is the person that comes on the microphone, you dived me, I haven't got a choice. You're not lifting off on the straights to allow me to go past down coming into the corners cleanly. You've got to dive them. But if you don't want to moan about being dived, as a GTD, lift off a little bit. It ain't going to hurt you, mate. At the end of the day, your race isn't going to be over. So I do get what you mean, that it's on the GTPs. But it's got to be facilitated, mate. They've got to facilitate a pass. And if you're going to meet him in the corner, just lift off beforehand. Let him take the corner because it's probably going to be easier and quicker for all of you, to be honest.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that one. I think it does kind of come down to, you know, as we mentioned, it takes two to tango, and it takes a bit of onus on both drivers. The rules state that it is on the GTPs, but again, if you're not in a battle, just let them go. Like, again, you're going to lose more by forcing them to dive you, and if they hit you, you're going to lose more than what you would have if you just lifted off slightly earlier and let them have it at the start of the braking zone compared to the end of the braking zone. So, you know,
we've got Frame and Mazzomo going side by side at the moment. They're coming out. They've just come out of Spitzker. They're running up into Mercedes. They've been neck and neck all the way through here. They've changed positions about 3 or 4 times going down the straight. Actually, it's 5 times over the last lap and a little bit. So Frame and Mazzomo have been neck and neck. They're having a great old scrap currently at the moment. But it is on, you know, you've got to, as you say, you can't tango on your own. You need a partner to throw around. And at the end of the day, you can't facilitate a pass on your own. You've got to need it both ways. So for me, it's on the onus of both cars, not just the faster cars. Lift, let them through, let them take the line. You're not going to lose anything. And if you're not in a battle with a GTD, is it really going to hurt your race when you've got 25 seconds to the guy in front and 15 seconds to the guy behind? No. No, no, no. And all you do when he does dive here is moan on the radio, can we not dive, please? Well, yeah, that's great, but lift off and let him through, and then you wouldn't have to have him diving up the inside again.
Yeah, I think...
There you go, rant over for today from JP.
It's a fairly facilitated rant, I will say that.
Thanks, mate. I feel it's very diplomatic, you know. I've seen both sides.
My fellow Vets commentator loses it there. Let's quickly have a look at how this has happened as I was looking at my camera controls while it did happen. I'm going to be honest. He's come round up through turn 3. Yeah, and just under... that's tough to see. Unfortunate for him. Another man with an iRacing podcast, and he ends up on the side of the track. Unfortunate for Mez there.
Yeah, definitely there as well, but it has put him behind Adam Simpson, so I suppose he's got an opportunity to at least be battling somebody as well. The GTDs are fairly spread out. Greg Johnston down at the back end is maybe getting a little bit close. Benjamin Brock has just come out behind Mark Cochran out of the pit, so those guys are nice and close together, so we'll keep an eye on that battle and see how that materializes here as well. But Mazzomo, he just did what I said. You know, you've gone over a curb, you've hit the accelerator, the car's turned around and gone, no, sorry dear, that's not happening. And the GTP has just decided enough's enough. But you know the weird thing from Mazzomo as well, he'll probably look back and say, I've done that line every single time for the last 20 laps and it's never spun me once. And that one opportunity where he just puts that power down a little bit too early, GTP says no, sorry sir, around you go.
Yeah, I mean, and it always comes at the worst of times. I mean, it could have happened on the last lap of the race. At least it happened with 15 minutes or so to go, maybe about 20 minutes or so to go when he actually did it. But yeah, it's only just hindering his race at this point. Majority of the field has actually come into the pits. The only car not to come into the pits yet, as I say that he comes in, it is the leader, Troy Maguire. So he will come in. Hasler will then take back the lead of the race. It was kind of just a long time coming. You know, basically just been waiting for this to happen pretty much. He's got a heck of a lead already. It's 15.8 seconds back to his teammate in P3 on the road at the moment, possibly provisional P2 in Brandon Grotch. So, you know, it's a hell of a gap, and well, it's looking like Hasler's to win, barring any controversies or any mistakes happening for him on the road tonight.
Yeah, it looks like Hasler's got this wrapped up, and it's possible that Grotch should make it past there as well. Troy Maguire currently is coming out the final corner. Maguire is on his way out, mind you. Maguire's just coming out of turn 1. Grot's not going to make it. Maguire's going to keep that second place. Grot's just on his way round turn 1 now, and he has done so, and he is behind Maguire. So as much as we love the fact that there was a possible P2 on the cards for Grot, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's more of a podium here as well. I want to shout out Ash Davis. We spoke about him earlier on as well. He's doing an absolute stellar job. He's up 2 places. He's moved his way up through the field at the moment as he is just gone past Schultze there as well. So a great little race from Davis, but this is nicely going to develop into a free car race. We've got Frame, Schultz and Davis battling it out. This is going to be a great ending as they go into the last 12 minutes here between these 3 cars, because we know how racy frame has been. We've seen him trying to go around the outside of a GTD at the last corner. We know Schultz can put it in, and clearly Ash Davis, who's up free and has made his way through the field, he can also put it in as well. So I'm going to be interested to see how this develops with these guys, and I think we could end up with somewhat of an epic finish. If not, we might end up with epic carnage.
Yeah, I can feel the goosebumps and the hairs starting to raise on my arms here. The pressure, as we mentioned, it was starting to build, but now it's getting into that danger zone, the red zone right now. A nice tight battle for P4 in this race. These guys are going to be the first 3 cars on track to take advantage of any mistake that the podium sitters currently, where they currently are. If they were to make a mistake, these guys are going to take advantage of us. I'm sorry, I'm getting flustered. There's that much pressure on the line right now. But, you know, Davis, Schultz and Frame, these guys are going to be the first to take advantage. As I mentioned, if Grock or Maguire or Hasler, if either of them make a mistake here in the latter half, latter sections of this race, just under 10 minutes to go, these guys are going to be in the hot seat to take that spot. And suddenly, well, it's a battle for P3, maybe even P2. Well, hell, if something happens to all top 3, it's a battle for the win. As Frame cuts it up the inside of Schultz. That was a great pass from him there. Nice and clinical. Schultz, he gave him the room, though. Remember, whenever someone makes an overtake, people sometimes forget, well, the other driver actually gave him a lot of room there. So, good on Schultz there just to give him the room. But it's a good move done there by Frame. As we come into 11 minutes left in this race, as these guys are starting to intensify this battle. Let's quickly check out the GTD. So we've got a nice little close battle on track at the moment. We do. It's Brooke, if I clicked on the wrong car, Brooke and Cochrane. These guys are currently the closest cars on track for the GTDs at this stage, JP.
Yeah, you've got Orty and Johnston there further down having a nice little ding-dong as well. So these guys are now just racing for their pride. They're racing to try and move up through positions. As we can see that Davis... as he clears Cochrane there as well. I think I've just had an heart attack here at the same time. But I think Cochrane there did what he needed to... He's going to wash it. Pull it in. He did pull it in, and that allowed Schultz to go through there as well. So great racing, great mindset there for Cochrane, and some great action for him as well. Simpson and Mazzomo were really close together at one point, and now they're not. I'm just wondering what has happened to Simpson. He looks like he's had a bit of a ding-dong. Oh, he's gone round at Spitzker as well. He went in too deep. He tried to clear Mazzomo and just got it all wrong there going down into Spitzker. So Simpson's on his recovery as well, with Shane Nowens, who also is on the move as well after making mistakes there. There was the incident on your screen. You can see he goes in, can't really get it stopped in time, and then unfortunately it all goes wrong for Simpson. So for Mazzomo, he's now in 7th place in class and obviously 7th overall on the road. But that is partly because he's in GTP and there's 7 cars in front of him. So there we go.
I mean, it's the only way you can really describe it. It's like, well, he's in 7th, but he's also 7th on the road because he's top class. I mean, like, how else can you really explain it? We're never really going to have a mix of, well, actually, unless there's a massive shunt with GTPs, we're not likely to actually see a mix of having some GTDs in, like, top 10 or something like that. A little bit different. We had LMP2. They might be able to kind of push for that for a top 10 every now and again. But I mean, these guys are only scored on their class. They're not scored overall because it wouldn't be fair to score them overall. So it's literally just class-based scoring here. So, whoever they're racing on the road, as we see Mez try and get it done on the inside of Brooke. He got it done there. Was patient for Cochrane. Shoots it up the half and gets it past him as well. And those guys now get to go back and have a nice little battle here for the last 9 or so minutes of this race.
Oh, there, Johnston and Leak down in the GTDs just had contact as the GTD went past as well. There was a brief little moment. He comes out here, watch the GTP send it 3 wide. Then they have a coming together. Oh, mate, the Audi kept it out of the wall. Fair play to him. But boy, oh boy, Johnston. And then he's made a mistake and he's gone round as Johnston. Oh dear, he was doing so well as well, Greg Johnston in that Audi, and now he unfortunately has gone a little bit round there as well. And it looks, as you can see on your screen, it looks like Frame's had a moment as well. And I can guarantee if you go back and watch that again, that's going to be the curb situation on the inside. So unfortunately there, but there is, poor old Greg Johnston. He was doing so well down at the back end of the field. here as well. So yeah, action still going on, and we're in the last, what we got, 8 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's that incident between Leake and Johnston, between the double Greg action there, that was more or less kind of they kind of magnetized together. Sometimes you get the cars, they kind of magnetize together, and then you can't really pull it away. They're just stuck and they're glued, and then one of you is going to end up off the track. So, just one of those instances. It's like netcode. There's not really much you can do about it, unfortunately. You see Cochrane and Brook, these guys still battling it out hard. Dyson has an absolute hell of a lead at the moment over Faulkner, just under 2 seconds. So he's done well to spread his wings, just kind of fly away, as we can see the GTP in behind him. I believe it's not Hazler, it was Grock. So I clicked on the wrong car. It was a 50% chance I was going to get that one right there. But Grock just making his way through the field here as well. But Dyson, I mean, the race isn't over yet. I mean, Faulkner's not too far away. He could make up some time here. But, it's not over until that checkered flag flies, as we always say. But, Hazler leads the way. 10.8 seconds is the gap back to Maguire. Can he keep this clean for the next 7 or so minutes here and take out round number 2 of the Warren & Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series? Big shout out as well to all of our partners and sponsors of SRWtv, including DSL Rail Services, Neuropower, Grim Industries, Shannon's Insurance, Warren & Brown Tools, Motorsport Australia as well. Big thank you to all those guys for supporting the series, supporting the league, and supporting the channel. They really do a lot to help us keep running races 6 nights a week and bring you 6 amazing shows 6 nights a week as well. So it's great to have all those partners on board.
Yeah, it definitely is. Obviously, without them, there wouldn't be much of this race either. We've got Frame, Mazzonimo and Simpson up in the GTPs. They're not too far apart from each other. In fact, they are going to be now, as Frame has just gone and cooked it and it's just gone off. There's Greg Johnston, unfortunately, having another issue in that GTD. He's done so well here just to keep it on track, but we've just lost Frame out the Simpson-Mazzomo battle. He just got it all wrong coming into the, I think it was into turn 12, and unfortunately for Frame, he went off the side of the circuit. So now he is a long way back from Simpson, so it just leaves Simpson and Mazzomo as they're battling it out. On your screen currently as well, they've just cleared the Mercedes there. He's up the inside.
Dodd's nowhere to go.
Oh, man. Is that twice of Simpson sticking his nose in where he doesn't need to? I don't know. Maybe.
Possibly point of turning goes to Mez.
Yeah, he done it again.
Yeah.
The same as what happened with Dyson. You cannot expect it. Just because you're in a GTP, you're not entitled for them to jump out the way. There's no need for it. You can see it on board. He's not alongside at the point that he's turning in. The turning is already going on now. He's already there. You can't expect him to stop that action. There is no way, and you're not really alongside. You're on his rear quarter. You're not really there for me. So I think Simpson might look back at this and go, look, the first one with Dyson, yes, it was my fault. Again, the first one with what's just happened with Simpson there and Mazzomo, again, it was on him, and I can't look past the fact that he's tried to put his nose in a place that it doesn't really need to be. Mazzomo's into the pit. Schultz Davis is in as well. I can't get past Simpson on that one, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. That one's it's unfortunate, really. I think Simpson also had a drive-through earlier in the race as well for his contact with Dyson earlier in the race, as Mez has just driven straight through. So I reckon he actually may have gone over the... Oh, no, because if he went over the incident limit, that would have given him a stop-go. So I'm not actually sure why he's just driven straight through.
That's not a penalty, surely.
Surely not. Like, it's at the point of turn-in. And obviously, we don't speak for race control. It's our opinion. But if I was a race controller, I wouldn't really put that on Mez.
No.
So, I mean...
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It is a weird one. And unfortunately for Simpson, it's twice that it's happened now in this race, and he's now the one that we're having to call out for it because it has happened twice. Again, if it was any other driver, we'd be doing the same thing. He's the example that we have in this race. But it is 3 minutes to go. So we are edging closer and closer to the end of this race, JP. We're getting around about 1 minute 27s on average, or maybe up towards actually 1:30s on average from the GTPs. So I'd argue probably 2 more laps of this race to go when the leader crosses the line. So we've not got long to go. Hasler leads the way, 9.3 seconds back to Maguire, so then a further 2.4 seconds back to Grotch, and then an absolutely monumental 38.9 seconds back to Davis in P4. So the top 3 are absolutely just running away with this thing right now. It's theirs to lose at this stage in the race. Phil Vella giving us the absolute comment of the day. There's something fishy about his driving this evening as there's been contact with Leak and Barber.
Oh, no, 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 no. Where's the emphasis going to be on this one?
So they've come through T1. Oh, the washouts happened. And just, I don't know. I'd have to say that's on Barbs. He's just kind of driven straight through him there. I mean, there was not much he could do in that one. If we get a better angle of this.
Oh, it's just a difference in pace, isn't it? It is literally a difference in pace there, I think. He's just he's just carried more speed, and he unfortunately just has got nowhere to go, and well, could he have avoided it? I don't know. A better question from the stewards there. Freeman and Schultz are side by side currently in the GTPs, as we've got a couple of minutes left for them. Freeman's just made that overtake on Schultz. Schultz has been driving very conservative anyway, so I don't expect that one to be too much of a struggle for Frame to get through. I think Schultz has done what Schultz probably does best and drives the car to get the points. I think he doesn't put himself in silly positions, and he hasn't done through for the whole entire race, and I didn't do that on the overtake with Frame either. He just allowed Frame the space, stayed away from him as much as he could, and now he's got an opportunity to try and get back through him. So really great racecraft from Schultz on that one. So maybe the contact put Mazzomo over incident points, resulting in a drive-through, maybe.
He wouldn't have, yeah, he wouldn't have a drive-through. I don't know if he'd actually get given a drive-through. I would think because it's an incident limit.
What they got, 17.
Yeah, and he's had 9 on SDK's end. He's had 9 off tracks.
Yeah, but
so
I've also that's off tracks without the car contact.
Yeah, true.
So that's off tracks himself. That's not car contact in general. So if he's had contact twice, which result in looking at Meza was at 1 for Simpson, so if he's got 9, that's going to put him on 13. There was another contact earlier on as well, so that would put him at 17. That possibly could have been, as Schultz makes a mistake there as well, but that could have been correct, I think, on that one. That possibly could have put him over. So we're fair play to Mr. Iceman. Final lap of the race now. Hasler still out in front, making a move past the GTD. No real reason for him to not to. However, that is not a good ending to that run there as well for Hasler. It's probably one of the only few mistakes he's actually made today, and he did it on the final lap.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, the car that let him through is his teammates. Probably just making it a little bit easier for him there on the run through. I believe it is actually John O'Kiley that's just in behind him. It is indeed. So his teammate lets him go. Hasler just sits now P1 at the moment. Maguire's a fair bit down the road from him, so he comes into the final stadium section. No one is there to put the pressure on him now as he comes through towards the final couple of corners, and it's looking more and more likely that he is going to catch the checkered flag of this race. Adam Simpson has had an incident. We'll try and catch that after the checkered flag, but Hasler comes round the final corner after an intense 45 minutes and a dominating performance from Frogleap Juice Racing. He takes out P1 for round number 2 of the Warren and Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series. Maguire will come across the line in P2, with Grotch not too far behind him in P3. And then if we look back, Andrew Dyson is currently sitting P1, although he has not reached the checkered flag yet. He still has Faulkner 2.9 seconds back from him here. Their race is not quite over, but it's a bit of a far gap. Without a mistake, can't really say Faulkner's going to do it. If Dyson makes a mistake, then he could be right up there still.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think he's going to, though. I think he's only got a few corners to go. The Simpson incident you were talking about earlier on, he hit the curb on the inside of turn 1, then was on the curb on the exit. He unsettled the car. The car was up in the air. It wasn't on all 4 wheels. And unfortunately for him, he ended up spinning it down into turn 1, and he hit the barrier pretty hard, to be fair, for Simpson. So I'm not surprised if he come over the line in 9th place. I think he might have had to try and wiggle his way back to the pits, but as Dyson comes around the final corner.
Yeah, so Dyson makes his way round. He's done well to keep that car clean most of the day. Had a bit of an incident early on with Simpson, but he will cross the line. P1 for the GTDs. Faulkner will cross the line. P2 for Vermillion. Connor Nixon on the road at the moment for P number 3. Ahead of Greg Barber, about 4 seconds back at this stage. So it looks like it's going to be a Vermillion double podium for them in P2 and 3 for the GTD class here as they come across the line. Let's quickly bring up that Adam Simpson incident just so we can exactly see what's actually happened to him here on the final run. So he comes into turn 1, as you mentioned. Oh, just sends it over the curb, yeah.
Hits that sausage curb on the inside and then has a big impact there as well as his bumper comes off and then goes back on. So he hits the inside sausage and then hits the outside curb, and he just unsettled it. And literally, if you ain't got 4 wheels on the floor of a GTP, you definitely are in trouble.
Yeah, it offers up its own challenges. It's not really made to run on 2 wheels or no wheels, in fact. So, really want to try and, it's a high downforce car. You want to have it at all 4 wheels at the end of the day. But, Hasler takes out the victory. Maguire second, Groch in third. It was a great run for those Froggies. They got 2 cars on the podium, including one of them in victory lane here for P number 1. He'll park up next to his teammate. They'll hopefully come and have a chat to us as he gets the burnout started in the Acura right now. And I mean, what a run it was for him. Just dominating from start to finish. He broke away early from Groch. I mean, Groch dropped down the field a little bit, but I mean, he just kept it consistent all evening and manages to come home with the chocolate as he hits the wall there from the burnout. Maybe pushing a little bit too hard after such a consistent race.
To be honest, are we really going to hold it against him? Absolutely not. Let's be real about it. He's probably that he hasn't made many mistakes at all. I think we've seen him once going deep, and that was about it. So fair play to him. But yeah, awesome racing here as well. Thoroughly enjoyed this. On to the next one.
Yeah, so we got a couple of people going to be coming in for a bit of an interview now post-race. We've currently got Ben Faulkner and Connor Nixon waiting in there for the GTDs. We will bring up our provisional race results. Of course, these could change due to any post-race incidents or penalties being applied. But we'll bring up our GTDs just quickly here. So currently, as it stands for our provisional results here for round number 2 out at the Hockenheimring, Andrew Dyson takes out P1 for the GTDs, 2.062 seconds ahead of Ben Faulkner for Vermillion Motorsports in P2. Connor Nixon will cross the line in P3, a further 17 seconds back, with Greg Barber finishing out a P4 for CXR. Harry Dodds and John O'Kiley will bring home the Frog Leap Juice Racing entries in P5 and P6, with Jason Madden coming home in P7 for Pace Syndicate. Mark Cochran will come home in P8 for Apex Esports, with Benjamin Brook coming home in P9 for Frog Leap. Callan Hodgson will make up the top 10 for CXR for the GTDs, with Kyle Stevens coming home at a P11, and then Joel Audie will come home P12 with Greg Leake 2 laps down in P13, and unfortunately for Greg Johnston, he'll come home 4 laps down in P14 here tonight. We'll bring up our GTP provisional results as well, with Scott Hasler finishing out a P1 just ahead of Troy Maguire in P2, and then Scott's teammate Brandon will finish out a P3 here tonight after taking out victory after a penalty last week for Mosport. Ash Davis will finish out a P4 ahead of Patrick Frame for Prospector Meatball Racing out a P5. Jai Schultz will come home in P6 for LCR Esports ahead of Summer Mazomo for 9.5 Sim Sports. Josh King will then come home in P8 with Adam Simpson coming home in P9. A lap down on the leader with Ty Delaney, who had a character building day as we mentioned. He'll come home in P10. Shane Newens will come home in P11, and Jamie Davis never made the start, so he will not be classified in this one. Let's see who we've got to come in to have a chat to us. We've got Dyson, Faulkner, Nixon, Groch, and Hasler. We'll bring in the GTD boys. We'll have a chat to all 3 of them, and then we'll move on to the GTPs as well.
Ben Faulkner is bad.
Why are you playing that as soon as you come in here, Mr. Nixon?
Sorry, mate. It was supposed to not happen. I was supposed to turn it off, but apparently it didn't.
Apparently it didn't. Apparently it didn't. But regardless, mate, you had a good run home there in P3. We saw you get in the chat earlier on during qualifying. How was that race for you, buddy? You started in P5, got up in 2 spots to P3, and then you boys have got a double Vermillion podium here tonight with Ben as well.
He got dragged out.
Oh, did he? Why did he get dragged out? Who dragged him out? Oh, we'll drag him back in. Sorry, Connor. I don't know who dragged you out there. I'm not sure who it was. I'm not sure who did that, but
good.
yeah. So you had a good run tonight, buddy. We saw you in the chat earlier on, and and getting into the chat with us for qualifying. Of course, you started out at P5, managed to make up 2 spots to get onto the podium, and you boys have managed to get a double podium here tonight alongside Ben for Vermilion Motorsports. How was that one for you?
Yeah, it was good. I tried something different tonight. I knew Dyson and Ben walked away as they usually do. They're very capable drivers in this. So I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around it and just have a bit of fun with the series. So I just started fuel saving. I think I dropped like 25 litres in the car for the pit stop. So Ben put 32 in for example. So there was quite a bit of a difference. So yeah, just fuel saved the rest. And it looked like Greg had a bit of an issue and got damaged. So yeah, just cruised it home and that was good fun. Enjoyed myself.
So what's kind of your mentality coming into this track this week? We know it can offer up different challenges and different opportunities for things to happen throughout the race, whether it's good or whether it's bad, and obviously having to deal with the GTPs coming around you and, you guys having to contend with that, but also having to contend with battles that you're in. What was kind of, your mentality, your mindset coming into this race, sort of pre-race and then even after qualifying, knowing where you actually were going to start the race?
We got into qualifying. That was pretty straightforward, and Ben and I just tried to slipstream off each other, but we got disconnected there. So just did my own thing for qualifying, got into the race. The traffic wasn't too great tonight. I think there was a couple of drivers just doing some interesting stuff, but hey, it's multi-class racing. But yeah, there was a lot of good guys in there. Simon gave me a lot of room, so respect to him. It was good fun though. Like I said, just cruised around and enjoyed myself, getting ready for the 12-hour this weekend.
JP, have you got anything you want to ask Connor?
I'm all good. How the only thing I really want to say is how tough was it with the GTPs going through? We had a discussion at length throughout about the traffic management for GTDs and GTPs. How tough was it with them out there? Were they nice, I suppose, in a weird way?
Like I said, like 80-90% of them were nice. There was a couple on the last lap I saw someone spin. There was a bit of an avoid there. They're not too bad. This track's kind of made for it, really. Big straights. Just getting on the comms with the boys and having some good fun. And just try to look in your rearview mirror. But I've got overlays that tells me when they're coming up. So I definitely know when they're coming up. And it's good fun.
Awesome stuff.
JP, Connor's doing everything right. He's doing everything that we said drivers need to do when they come into a series like this. So, and it's paid off for you by getting onto the podium tonight. So, Connor, do you want to give a shout out to the sponsors, or do you want Ben to give the shout out to the sponsors tonight?
Oh, we'll just do both. Vermilion Motorsports, the team itself. They're a great team. Love them. We're up to 32 drivers now. And these are our sponsors: Berlin Motor Group, Dr. Epoxy, Race Labs, Bird Designs. He actually spots me on Logitech, so shout out Birdie. Moser Racing, Hymo Setups that brings the great Hymo to our cars, and we have some awesome setups every week, and they never fail. So we're actually using them tonight, so go and check them out.
32 drivers. You guys could field a football team with that many.
We've got a lot. Like even this week, we had 4 in Logitech G. We had Sam Chapman in the Formula Vs. We've got a good 8-9 drivers in the V8 supercars, and we've got there's so many guys. GT3 wise, we had 6 teams for Daytona 24. One came out with a win, which luckily I was in that car. Pretty big, and only last year it was only 4 of us really, 4 or 5, Ben, Corey, and Ken Economos, and now we're just this huge elite team now, which is really cool. Good to be on board.
Well, mate, thanks for coming and have a chat to us. I assume you're doing the OSR 12-hour. I did see Vermilion had an entry into it. Mm-hmm. Best of luck for that one. I unfortunately did not make it past pre-qualifying. Could have gotten a 5 out of me, but unfortunately I only managed to get a 206, so I've missed the boat on that one. But best of luck this weekend, mate, in the 12-hour, and best of luck next week as well as we go racing for round 3.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, mate. Well, Ben, it had the pace this week, but unfortunately you just couldn't really, we'll say, suck in Andrew Dyson, to give a nice little pun there to his last name, towards the end of the race.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I I think I just was burning too much fuel out front for too long. I tried to undercut it to sort of even it out a bit. But yeah, I burned my tires a bit as well, doing some dumb mistakes in some corners. And yeah, I got a few off tracks which I needed to sort of bring down a bit towards the end. And then I put in, I think, 2 or 3 liters extra fuel, which I didn't have to put in. So a few things that factored into some mistakes, but overall it was a good race and a good solid amount of points for the rest of the season.
Now, mate, we know you had a strong run last time out at Most Sport. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Connor. What was kind of your mind process coming into this race and kind of your plans coming in? I mean, obviously we know that you're at the top end of town in terms of pace compared to the rest of the field. How were you feeling during practice this week coming up to this track, and what was kind of your thoughts coming in and what your plan should be, especially trying to battle it out with good old DPR Dyson around you as well?
Well, I mean, I've been practicing pretty much all week for the OSR 12 hour. I think we're currently sitting P2 in overall pre-quali, I think. But I jumped in today. I started a session. I think I did pretty much most of the hour and 45-minute practice and settled with a good amount of pace. My quali run in practice was a bit better than my actual quali run. But yeah, it doesn't count if you don't put it together. But overall, it was good race.
Oh, you're just answering the question, why does Hamish commentate and not race? It's because I cannot keep up with the fast boys in GT3 and GTD. Well, mate, congratulations on P2. It was an absolute mega run for you, mate. Let us know who's giving you the support out there and anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well.
Thank you. So obviously Vermilion Motorsports, Bella Motor Group, Dr. Epoxy, Race Lab Overlays, Burb Designs, Supernova Motorsports, Moser Racing, and Hymo Setups. And thank you for you two boys for commentating as well.
Thanks, mate. We hope you enjoy watching the race back whenever you get a spare minute to. Obviously, your focus is now on the 12 hour this weekend. Best of luck in that one, and best of luck for round number 3 next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it, boys.
Thanks, mate.
Take care, man.
Well, Mr. Dyson, we're going to ask you, how did you feel about the GTPs out there tonight? Because there was a very controversial incident that happened between you and one of them in the final corner. How was the race for you, number one, and then how was it dealing with the upper class of car?
Okay, so race was pretty fun. Had a good little battle with Ben for a while there, sort of sizing up maybe some side by side stuff, some wheel to wheel battling before he pitted, and that kind of mixed up the race a little bit from there on. But I suppose with the GTPs, I remember that lap coming through. It was probably the first lap, maybe the second lap. The GTPs were coming at us. And there was a guy behind me who was being real patient. There was a whole bunch of them, actually. They were all being real patient. I thought, okay, cool. He'll probably go on the straight. And then he kind of dove in at the last moment there into the last corner, which is probably perfectly doable. I didn't really expect it, so it's just one of those things. But I think it was Adam, so I have to apologise to Adam. I mean, I'm sure he probably wants to apologise to me too, but it's just one of those things that happens, right? So, not too stressed about it. There was another one that happened as well with another fella, Greg. When he came out of the pits, I sort of had a bit of a tangle with one of the GTDs, and I think at the time my assumption was he was just hung up on traction control or something, but maybe he took tyres or something like that. So my assumption is you don't really take tyres in these races because you kind of don't need to with the GTD. So maybe he took tyres, had cold tyres, was hung up on traction control, didn't really get going, and I was sort of, next thing you know, driving into the back of him. So I straightened him up, got going, probably lost a little bit of time, but didn't get a penalty, thankfully, so we pressed on.
Well, mate, it was an absolutely mega effort from you tonight. I mean, you managed to get out the lead nice and early. You had a nice battle, though, with Ben for the majority of proceedings, but there was kind of a certain point in the race where you guys were kind of gapped with each other, and then with the traffic coming through, there was really no opportunity for Ben to kind of come up on the back of you and really put the pressure on. How was your mindset coming into this race? Obviously, we spoke about Hockenheim kind of being a bit of a challenge for both classes, not just for the GTDs, but also for the prototypes as well. How did you feel about coming to Hockenheim for round 2? I mean, I know it's not really a stereotypical multi-class racetrack for these two classes at least. What was kind of your mindset about that?
I guess my mindset doesn't really change for the most of the races. My mindset coming into the whole league is just to come out here and have some good races with people and see where I shake out. And that definitely had a good race tonight with Ben. I think Ben and I are reasonably even. I think we're racing another series, which is actually Porsches as well. But this time we're racing GTD, so it kind of feels like we're racing Porsches, but this time with training wheels. But we're still pretty close to each other. So in Porsche Cup we're close to each other as well. So it should be some good racing.
Was that was that over in the AOG series?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, so we were racing together on that one. We were reasonably close. I mean, I've had some pretty bad races too, but when we had some good ones together, we were pretty close. So it was nice, and hopefully we can get some more of those races in because that's kind of what I'm looking for, is just to jump in and not really cruise around. I say cruise around, but we sort of jump in, cruise around, get some door-to-door stuff going, and just have a good time.
Now, are you going to be having a tackle at the 12-hour this weekend, or are you going to be focusing on the official next week?
No, we'll do the real one, man. We'll do the official one in a couple of weekends' time, and I'll be up for the real 12-hour next weekend too, so that should be a bit of fun.
Oh, mate, best of luck for round number 3. Best of luck in the official 12-hour as well, just in case we don't speak to you prior to that one. You had a phenomenal race tonight. Congratulations on P1. Let us know who's given you and DPR the support out there, buddy.
Thanks, man. Well, Dan did ask me. I had to give him a shout-out. He sent me a setup pretty conveniently. I needed something, so he sorted me out, hooked me up with a couple of setups that he had laying around up in his back pocket. So thanks, Dan Edmonds, for that, legend. Helped me out a bit there. And shout out to all the champions out there on New Start. Love your work, boys. Press on. And all the boys at DPR. Love your work, boys. Thanks.
JP, have you got anything you want to say to Andrew before we say goodbye to him for the night?
Well done, sir. Well done. Great racing. You made it. You made it through a multi-class race. So fair play for surviving.
Thanks, man. It feels kind of weird we meet again, but this time like I'm in an Aussie league, so it's kind of like we're meeting on the other side of the world. Like last time it was the American league. So anyway,
yeah, we're a long way apart from each other there, buddy. But but fair play to you, mate. To survive a multi-class, survive contact as well. You did an awesome job. Go away, mate. Feel proud. It's awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm sure those boys might have a beer or something.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool.
All right, Andrew, thanks for coming over to chat to us, buddy. Congratulations once again, and best of luck next time out.
Cheers, man. Thanks, and cheers everyone for a good race tonight.
Thanks, mate. Well, JP, it was great to speak to the GTDs there. Feel free to let me know as well if you want to ask questions. I'm more than happy to put the reins over. But
that's all good, mate. I'm just sitting there. I think it's one of them things with us, isn't it? When we obviously we don't want to fire too many at them. We don't want to be like, did you do this? Could you have done that better? But I'm going to be interested to see how the GTPs come out here with Grok and Hasler. So let's get them in. I think this could be a good one.
Yeah, we'll bring them both in together, seeing as they are teammates, Mr. Brandon Groch and Scott Hasler. You boys had a great race tonight, although, Scott, you had an absolutely phenomenal one, we must say, starting up the front and then managing to really boost your lead. But we'll start with you, Brandon. I mean, you lost out there on the start and then had to kind of pull your way back. And we were speaking about on the broadcast about how some drivers' impatience can get in their way and it can stop them from making their way through the field. But you were absolutely cool, calm, collected, and absolutely patient as ever. And it really worked out for you in the end because it managed to get you back up into P3.
Yeah, it was a very good comeback, but it wasn't without its issues. The start was shocking. I completely missed the green. And then just tried to keep it clean through T1. Fortunately, ended T2. I got a little bit happy with the throttle and almost took out Patrick. But just had to bleed it out, stay patient, drop a few positions, and then just try and work my way back. Sorry to Adam when I tried to overtake him after the hairpin and kind of just locked up into him. But other than that, it was still about trying to chase down Maguire towards the end.
So, mate, how did it go, in the car for you tonight? Obviously, the GTP is not a necessarily easy car to drive, especially on a track that's only offering you really a 1.5 minute lap time, and you're having to deal with the traffic of the lower class car as well. So, how were those challenges for you tonight, especially compared to last week out at Mosport, which is probably an even harder circuit to try and get it done as well?
Mosport actually works a lot better for me. Hockenheim's close to probably one of my worst on the calendar. I don't know why. I tend to struggle with it, and added with the Acura, which is, in my opinion, the most difficult prototype to drive. It was very challenging. I just had to try and not overdo my limit and just keep it clean and consistent. I already knew Scott was gone, so I didn't have to worry about him. But yeah, it was just trying to manage everything and not go too fast for my own good.
Well, mate, I mean, it was a phenomenal effort from you tonight once again. Obviously, you got given the win last week after, an unnamed, we'll say, admin unfortunately took you out on the line, but you managed to get the win last week after the penalties were applied. You managed to come home P3 here tonight. Are you going to give us the sponsors, or is Scott going to give us the sponsors, or are you both going to give them to us?
You know what? Scott's the only one to cross the line with a win out of us two, so I reckon he can handle the sponsors this time by.
That's a very fair statement and a very fair reasoning as well, mate. Well, let us know who's giving you the support out there, and we'll leave the sponsors for Scotty as well.
For me, it's just all my teammates and all my friends, to be honest. All the support they give, the confidence they give me, and the amount of boost they're trying to provide me right now to be as best as I can. So I appreciate all you guys. Thank you.
Thanks for coming and have a chat to us, mate. Best of luck next time out. And are any of your team having a crack at the OSR 12 hour this weekend, or are you guys also kind of focusing on the official in a couple of weeks' time?
We were having a little dabble, but unfortunately right now our pace isn't quite there. I think we've had a little bit of an issue with our teams, so we may be trying to resolve something, having one final crack tonight, but I'm setting my eyes on the real life one. I'm tempted. I'm really happy to go there, and I'm hoping it's going to be a great race in the real life one.
Oh, mate, thanks for coming and have a chat to us here tonight. We'll move on to your teammate Scotty, and best of luck for next week. I believe I want to say it's Le Mans next week, which is round 3. My brain's gone haywire at this stage. Let me double check. I think it is Le Mans.
It is round 3, mate. Yeah.
It is Le Mans. So yeah, best of luck next time out at Le Mans. The European home of sports car racing. So yeah, best of luck out there.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, mate. Well, Scott, it was a dominating performance tonight. Some would say easy, being that you finished quite far ahead of P2, P3, and then even P4, which was a further 40 seconds back. But at the end of the day, you got to have the consistency and the pace to get up there, and you proved that, you know, Brandon's not the only dominant driver that Frog Leap have got out there in a GTP car.
Yeah, it was a nice one. Obviously, a little bit lucky with the start. Brandon, unfortunately, just wasn't quite on it from the get go, and kind of gave her the lead into turn 1, and then there was a bit of squabbling in the pack, so I managed to get a little bit of an early lead, and then it's really just a matter of in the Acura, it's a twitchy car, particularly those first few laps, so just a matter of keeping the thing on the black stuff, and then building from there.
Well, mate, I mean, we know that you had the pace tonight. You were kind of matching pace with Brandon in qualifying. You guys obviously put it on the front row together. How have you kind of felt coming into this season? Obviously, you weren't. I don't think you raced last week out at round 1, did you?
No, I didn't. No. Wasn't able to make that one, unfortunately. And we'll be away next week as well, which is a bit of a shame. But then hopefully getting into the rest of the season.
Oh, well, I mean, hopefully, being that you'll have, a drop round plus also then a donut on there, hopefully maybe you can be here just to kind of shake up the season a little bit. I mean, you never know. Everyone may not be able to make every single round, so at the end of the season, you may still be up there anyway. But hopefully you can kind of bring a bit of a shake up to the top end of town and really just, put some pressure on the boys up there as well to kind of, hey, I'm here. I may not be in contention at this very stage, but if you guys make a mistake, I'm still going to be there in the end. So hopefully that can all work out throughout the rest of this season. What track are you looking forward to throughout the rest of the season? I will run through the calendar so you can, you don't have to say I don't know the calendar. But obviously we've got Lemoore coming up next week, then Long Beach, then Watkins, then Daytona, then the Nordschleife, then Sebring, then Spa. Which of those upcoming races do you think's possibly going to be your favourite to come up, at least in ones that you can actually race in?
Look, I've got to say the Nordschleife. It's I ran quite a few officials there when it was there a few weeks ago and had an absolute ball of a time. It's pretty bonkers in the GTP, but just so much fun. It's a great time.
So, mate, obviously you led the majority of this race. How was it getting through the GTD field here tonight? Were a lot of room left out there for you, or was there a couple of little squeaky moments for you out on track?
It wasn't too bad. I remember racing the officials here a few, good few weeks ago now. It was pretty hectic, but today wasn't quite as bad. I think I was lucky in that I didn't catch too many cars in that last sector, which is pretty difficult. There's not much room to pass there. You tend to just have to be a bit patient. But it was pretty good, all things considered.
Oh, mate, thanks for coming and have a chat to us here tonight. We won't keep you for too much longer. Let us know who's giving you the support out there. And obviously, you've been given the onus to give us the sponsors from Brandon. Congratulations on P1 and let everyone else know out there who's giving Frog Leap the support, as well as yourself, for being able to go racing every Friday night.
Yeah, definitely. So big thank you to Juiced Energy, simrigs.com, Racecraft, Slitspeed Gloves, and the Pet Door Company.
Thanks a lot, mate. Really appreciate you taking time out of your evening to come and have a chat to us. Congratulations on P1 once again, and best of luck next time you're out on track for this series.
Yeah, great. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, mate. Well, JP, after an intense round one at Motorsport, we come into Hockenheim. Still a good level of intensity. Didn't have any safety cars out there tonight, but provided some absolutely exceptional racing once again nonetheless.
Yeah, it definitely did. And basically, I think going forward, they've got an easier, I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to regret this when I watch this back next week or something, an easier circuit in Le Mans, okay? They've got the Mulsanne, they've got loads of straights to make the overtakes. It's a wide circuit, they've got plenty of time. But I can tell you one thing, Long Beach after that, oh, mate.
Could not be two more polar opposites, could it?
No, and I want to see how they're going to go through on the pace lap round the final corner. I think there's going to have to be a briefing, single file it as well. I did a GT4 race where we turned around in the briefing and we said, right, single file through the last corner and then regroup after the corner, because you're trying to get GTPs and GTDs together, and if one GTP makes a mistake, man, you're going to have a parking lot. So, yeah, I think there's going to have to be a bit of an understanding on Long Beach. But Le Mans definitely should be a lot easier for these guys.
Yeah, I think it's going to offer us some exceptional racing. Hopefully the field doesn't spread out too much along there. Could really just come down to the strategy at the end of the day. And anyone who's willing to push, the fuel limit a little bit further and further than anyone else in the field, who knows, maybe we'll even see someone run out of fuel coming into way to the lane or even to the final lap. But, it's been a massive round two, as I mentioned, out of Hockenheim. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, JP, and filling in for Preacher. I know it was at last minute. I know that you had only woken up very recently compared to when the race started. So I personally really appreciate you coming in and giving me a hand here tonight. Made the race very enjoyable, and it was great having a chat to you as well. And we'll have to line you up to come on the podcast as well in future.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. but a big thank you guys as well to everybody who has joined us here tonight, taking your time out of your evening or out of your day or out of your afternoon to join us here on SRWtv. You guys are helping us grow the series, helping us grow the league. As I mentioned earlier in the show, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon as well, so you are notified anytime we go racing across all 6 nights of racing that we do, being the Sunday night Supercars Pro-Am, the Monday night Formula Vs brought to you by Motorsport Australia, the Tuesday night Supercars Series brought to you by Warren & Brown Tools, the Wednesday night Formula 3 Nationals brought to you by Shannon's Insurance, the Thursday night Shannon's GR86 Nationals, which is also an official Motorsport Australia series, and then of course the Warren & Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series every Friday night coming at you around about 7:45, 7:50 p.m. is around about the start time every single week for that show. But from me, Hamish Bonner, and from James JP Parfitt, we thank you for your time. We thank you for joining us here tonight. We thank you for supporting the series. Big thank you goes out to all of our sponsors once again: Shannon's Insurance, Warren & Brown Tools, Neuro Power, DSL Rail Services, Grimm Industries. Thank you all for being here, and also Motorsport Australia. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us once again. And until next time, we will see you Sunday night for the Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Pro-Am, live for round number 2 out at Motorsport. But until then, bye for now.
Almost the same situation. Better contact going down to the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because, tell you what, Bruce Tanner can Jamie Dyke just absolutely drove away from us.